I saw blacks and whites in Baldwin getting together, and it didn't. I went to a mostly
Right.
black school, and I didn't see. It was just different to me to see the white girls mixed with black men, and it was so interracial
Right.
couples up here. Did you see all that, or did you? Was it different to you? Did you notice any difference, or what would you say? And to
When
you
I grew
first.
up here, it was all black. I had all black teachers, all black friends and students.
Really?
Yeah, my nursery and kindergarten through
In Baldwin High School,
Nelson
in
Elementary.
Nelson
And then when
Elementary.
I went to Baldwin
That's what.
at fourth grade, I had white teachers, but there were a lot of black people. So I didn't think anything of it, because they all got along.
Yes.
When I left here in '70 and we moved to Illinois, there was a severe culture shock I had to go through
Okay.
because Springfield, Illinois is extremely racist
Okay.
and they're very divided.
I remember.
Yeah. And I suffered a lot of trauma because I thought everybody was everybody, and no matter what flavor you were, you got along. And I got in trouble with a lot of black kids. They said, "Stop talking to the white kids." I said, "Why?"
Really?
And I'd raise my hand in class, and the teacher wouldn't acknowledge my hand. And
Very
the
interesting.
black kids next to me said, "Put your hand down." I said, "Why? I know the answer." They said, "What's wrong with you?" It was a whole different culture. Okay.
And this was in the 60s, you were 70s?
This was 1970. I went back to Illinois. We left here in '70. I was in
Okay.
junior high there, and it was terrible for me. I wanted to come back here so bad because it was peace here and everybody loved each other.
Yes.
And I went there. It was completely different.
And mostly
and
blacks
it's never
here.
changed.
Okay.
It hasn't changed.
Okay. Elder Grier, what was it like? When you was up here, and I know you was in Cleveland, but when you came up here, when you experienced something, and what would you say you were speaking for like the 70s also?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So let me kind of transition to that because before I came up in first through fourth grade, we were Catholic in Cleveland, which a majority of Cleveland is Catholic.
Okay.
All right. So my cousins, they were Catholic. Anyway, me and my brother John, we went to an all-white Catholic school. So we had the mass beforehand,
Yes.
and then we would go to class. And so that experience back then, I didn't like it. I hated it, And then, so we transitioned coming up here. I was glad just to see some more blacks, although I saw blacks in Cleveland,
Yes.
but not in the school.
Yes.
And so it was a welcome transition, and because of like Carmen said, the friendliness of the students there, it was no, because you black, we're not going to accept you. It's like we blended in.
Okay.
Everybody blended in, and small school. It taught me a lot about dealing with other cultures,
Yes.
and that was the value of going to school here and growing up in Baldwin, because we lived in Baldwin for a minute, and
Okay.
then we came out here. But just the experience of the cultures coming together,
Okay.
in spite of the racial tone of the day.
And Mr. Eby helped with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we had Mr.
Dave Eby, that was
Eby.
my band
Yeah.
teacher as
Yeah.
well.
Mine too.
We had
Okay.
Mr. Eby. We had Miss Fitz.
Yes.
And we had Mr. Mead, who had the paddle back in the
Okay,
day.
yeah.
That if you acted up, you would go to the front of the class.
Now, talk about
Yeah.
the pedal. It was real big in Chicago too,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm talking about, once again, we're talking about late 70s.
Okay, where if we got in trouble, we had teachers that had to rulers taped together
Yeah.
called the blackjack,
Yeah.
and some of them would make us hit ourselves, and it was normal. You didn't get none of this school this
Right.
day. You can't hit no,
Right.
But back then it was normal. And evidently my mother didn't even know about it, because when I got older, I told her. She said, "They never hit y'all." If I would told me about it, no, they did, and we didn't go and complain because it was normal.
Right.
So you're saying it was like that here as well.
Yeah.
And so you're talking, like I said, the later 70s, because you're looking at, I was 70, and so that had to happen in my.
And when you got it at school,
You got it at home.
you got it at home.
Because they were embarrassed that you had to be disciplined.
Right.
Wow, not anymore.
Right.
It's not
No,
like
it's
that.
gone now.
Now, when you said, you mentioned, you caught my ear. You said it's not like that anymore. You said as far as the.
In Springfield, Illinois, it's gotten worse. The racial divide is horrible.
Really?
In state government, it's horrific. I can't tell you how bad it is there.
Mm.
And, I'm glad I'm retired. I
Yes.
retired 8 years early just to get out of there.
Okay.
And I said, I got to go back home. So I came up here and I bought a lot of property, you know. And I said, I'm going to make this my home. You know, we go back and forth constantly because
Okay.
we're doing stuff, we're building things. But you know, this is where my peace is,
This is where your piece is.
and I have to have my peace.
Now this Ottawa, is this this right here? This is a family, or this is yours, or
This is actually the family house. You met my mother. You know my mother.
Yes.
She passed in 2020.
Yes.
She had dementia, Parkinson's.
Yes.
And so we decided when we first moved here, Robert and Margaret Riff. You probably heard of the Riff Center.
Yes.
Okay, the Riffs were from Cleveland as well. Mrs. Riff, Margaret Riff, was my mother's cousin.
Okay.
And so they would, at one time, the house that was previously here, the Riff House, was a duplex. And when we would come up in the summer, we'd stay on one side and they'd stay on the other. So eventually they sold the house to my parents,
Okay.
who ended up divorcing. But my dad made it into a single home, and we lived here. And so when my mom died, because she was by herself at the time,
Yes.
we had to kind of get rid of the house because it was old and needed a whole lot of repairs.
Okay.
And so we bought this one. She was able to see it before she died.
Praise God.
And so this is actually like the family house.
This is the family
now.
house.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a lot of family houses up
Yep.
here. The Metcalf, when Mama Metcalf died, I don't know if you're familiar with the Metcalf.
No.
But I know you probably are.
A little bit, yeah.
And they kept the house. He's a doctor. They're not going to get rid of that house.
Right.
And I could think of other families that
Sure.
have kept the house. And here, you don't have many houses on Lake.
Believe it or not, it's still the majority of black-owned houses on Idlewild Lake as well as Paradise Lake. But you've seen an influx lately of whites come in, mainly because the younger generation didn't keep up the house.
Yes.
Families didn't keep up
Yes.
the houses, and they either got sold on land auction, bank, or
Yes.
tax auction. And a lot of times when people don't realize the value of their area or
Yes.
their real estate, they'll neglect it or they won't take care of it or take ownership of it. And so we've lost a lot of property.
They didn't know what they had.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And at
Yeah.
a certain time in the history, Ottawa was booming with many black actors, many black musicians,
Yes.
and we've all
Yeah.
heard of that.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience any of that? Even when
I did.
Did
I
you?
did.
What did you experience around the beach?
Like I said, when we started coming up in the mid '60s, right before we moved here, it would take you 15 or 20 minutes to get from the bottom of the island
Yes.
all the way around to where the bridge between Little Idlewild and Idlewild Lake is.
Is it because of the traffic or?
Because of the traffic, there was Giles Hotel, Polk Skating Rink, the Flamingo was operating.
The Flamingo, I remember
they had
that.
the El Morocco Club, the Paradise Club, the Purple Palace. It was so much, and it was like coming up here was like a dream come true,
Yeah, it's nice.
because you saw people from California to Maine to Florida to.
You remember it?
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad used to take us up to the island to get
Yeah,
to
yeah,
go to the shrimp
yeah,
shack.
yeah.
The shrimp shack.
And we sit in the back seat
Yeah.
waiting on him to
Yeah.
come back with the shrimp.
Sonny's Bar, Rosanna. Then they had Pearl's Bar.
Okay.
They had Lee John's, Dan Ware, Letman's. They had where the Roadrunners at.
Yes.
That was Delbert Dotson, and the constable. He was a constable at the time.
Okay.
Right. And so they had many businesses. Sweetheart Motel. I mean, all type of motels were here.
Wow.
Morton was here then. And it was boom. And they had a guy from Cleveland, Mr. Burns. He'd come up and he had
I heard about that
a
name.
laundromat
Yes.
in Idlewild.
Okay.
And there was so many business. Picel Products came up here and built a pick station, a pick factory at one time.
In the 60s.
Yeah,
You say.
yeah.
That's
And,
amazing.
Yeah, I've met Lerone Bennett Jr. up here. I think the girls met Ali up here. Tommy Hearn's been up here. But
Okay.
I actually saw, and Levi Payton at Four Tops when Castellani's was here.
Okay.
I served him when I worked in the restaurant when he was here, and the acts were here then. Yeah, and
Some of their homes are still around.
Any
Yeah.
famous people that you can remember that you've seen in
I was young and
Okay.
we couldn't go to the clubs. My dad let me go into the Flamingo once because he was working there
Yes.
temporarily.
The Flamingo
And
right around the beach.
yeah,
on the
right over
island.
here.
There you go. I remember it.
He said, "You sit here and I'll be right back." So I got to sit there, and the ladies were on the stage rehearsing.
Uh-huh.
I remember this one beautiful lady. Her hair was just a perfect part down the center and had it slicked back. You know,
Ooh.
I said, "Wow, her part is so straight." I'm a girl. We know
Yes.
stuff like that. I
Yes.
said, and she's so pretty, you know. And I didn't get to see the whole act. He
Yes.
said, "Okay, let's go up and out," you know. But that's my experience of going in there, you know.
Yes.
I loved it here. We go to the beach,
Yes.
you know, and swim. You know, I learned how to swim in the lake.
And it was beautiful. That the beach was still. The
it was
beach was
beautiful.
packed.
Oh yeah, the beach was packed. they would skate at the Rift Center during
Okay.
the day. They call the lot owners.
Okay. Yeah.
And then at night they skate at Pokes, which
Yes.
was a bigger skating rink.
Uh-huh.
The inside of Flamingo, it was beautiful. It was like Las Vegas style. And I just remember one day seeing it, and I couldn't believe it, you know.
It was great.
And I saw, you know, a picture of the girls, that, you know, they were in there, but we could not go in there.
Yes.
We couldn't go in the Pokes because, you know,
Yeah.
we were young, and the older crowd would hang up there in the evenings. But just the beach, I mean, packed. And
So
I know I would be
mostly
packed.
blacks.
Oh, all blacks.
I didn't see anyone.
Listen,
Really, at that time. Okay.
if you saw a white person coming through here,
Yes.
it's because they got
Right.
lost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
all
just
right.
driving through, or happen to be with
But
somebody.
you know, I guess a lot of that changed.
Like I said, because I can think of and I'm just saying by the
Mm-hmm.
80s, because as I said, the blacks and whites were together,
Right.
and you were able to call the white guy's name just like the blacks, and they were like this because we were all one. Matter of
Mm-hmm. Right.
fact, even to the end now, we clean together. Even the ones back before Kaczynski, it seemed like
Mm-hmm. Right.
there were that generation was more together,
Together.
coming more together,
Yeah.
whites and black, than it was back in the 60s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
getting back on your mother, Sister Grier, she played for every church
Yes,
around
she did.
here.
She did.
Wonderful lady.
Yeah.
Did you pick up any kind of music skills?
Oh boy, all of us did.
Okay.
As you know, she played piano.
Yes.
If she hadn't had children, she could have played for any symphony in
Yes.
the country.
Yes.
But she tried to teach me piano, but I was so busy out in so-called streets of Idaho.
Yes, yes.
I didn't have, you know, I didn't,
Yes.
didn't really, I took it for granted and didn't really take it.
Okay.
But I took up the trumpet.
Okay.
And all of us took up an instrument. And so I still play it to this day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm okay.
All right.
I don't practice like I used to.
Who's the piano player? Just Chris and
Chris.
and anybody else?
Chris and Chris's
Yes.
son.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it.
And singers, basically all y'all do a little singing.
Everybody but me sings.
Okay.
And Carmen sings.
All right.
Yeah.
And you
she
sing
played
too?
the flute.
You play. My wife played the clarinet.
Yeah.
And I played the big tuba. That was the easiest instrument I could do.
Yeah.
It is a small boy with a big old tuba in my hand,
Right.
but it was easy. Now I'm learning how to play the piano within the
Okay.
last 6
Yeah.
months, as you
Yeah.
see, and I'm excited about that.
Okay.
Because God has brought me a long way, and like I said, so you're looking at my history, two different history here, because you were back and you talk about the 60s, and I'm taking up from the 80s.
Sure.
You know, and I don't want to go back to Chicago. This is, to me, this is where God brought me.
Right.
I believe God leads us
Yes. Yes.
to
Yes.
here, and He led me up to here so I can have a better start. Because who knows, I could have become a gang member.
Sure.
Where I was in
Yeah.
Chicago on the South Side.
Yes.
And now it's back in the late 70s in Chicago. It just started on the South Side. It wasn't that bad around my neighborhood, but now,
Yes.
because of the time and perilous times, and
Right.
because the Bible
Sure.
is fulfilling when it says that it's in the latter days.
That's right.
And
Perilous
one
times.
thing you can't say, you shouldn't say, or you got to be careful to say, a lot of big time preachers, T.D. Jakes, Bishop, you don't hear much of them talking about the lesbian or gays. I'm going to say that because of the fact that we got so many demons in the world
Yeah.
that are getting into people, that if you say the wrong thing about Trump politics or the way it is right now,
Sure.
you can have someone that's just get a demon possessed to come here and take you out.
Oh, yeah.
And so God also tells us, and I do believe, Elder, there's a time and a place for everything.
That's right.
You know, and so just, He doesn't ask us to go out there and just to commit suicide by going, I'm going to speak about it on TV in my church, and I'm going to tell everybody where I am, because that's not good. You got to be careful. If you're directed by God, which God does everything in order, I believe, Elder Grier.
He does.
And I just thank God that in this time, and I didn't talk much about that, and I'm hoping to get my wife to come back and do an interview, because God brought us back together.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks know around Ball, and I think that's why that YouTube video of me and my wife, I've uploaded about 52 videos, and that was the most views. Because why? I believe you got some sincere people to say, look at, and they told us that you two, we've seen you back in the day when y'all were apart,
Right.
and had 6 kids, and we're just inspired by you being together. And then you got the nosy ones that just want to see,
see.
let me see
Oh,
what's
I didn't
going
know
on.
they
How
got
you know,
Yeah.
we have that in these
Sure,
days.
sure.
And I'm sure there's some haters for you guys
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Because God, you're a beautiful couple.